show you some other ways of how I challenge myself using frame by frame. But what I really want to do is get to the next part of this. So I'm going to just quickly, you can see how they get closer and closer up here. And let's go about here. And I want to also be aware of how big the ball was in the first frame. I don't want it to really overall change its volume because that's a no-no. But I think I'm pretty close. And I don't, this is too equal here. I'm just going to, there we go. A little bit more space. I want it to really look like it's picking up speed. All right, so now it hits this surface and does another squash and stretch, and we're almost there. And I haven't even tested this. By now, I would have probably played it back a couple of times just to see if I'm doing anything remotely close to a bouncing ball, but I'm pretty sure I have, because this is a technique I do often. All right, so then it disappears. So let's play it back and see what that looks like. All right, it's fine. It's not perfect, but being perfect is often not the point. And let's just loop this for now. Loop this so you can watch it. So now let's say the client says, "Oh, it's great, really looks awesome, but we want it to be faster, or we want it to be slower." Well, now I gotta edit all those frames, right? AMO 6. Am I using a stylus or the mouse? Absolutely, a stylus. Using a Wacom Intuos Pro, medium size. Yes, I do. CBO James, thank you. So yeah, I would not do this really with a mouse at all. It would be carpal tunnel syndrome, like you know, I have no idea. So we have this, right? But let's make it easier on ourselves, right? I have another way. It's an alternative way. Whoops. I'm just going to select this ball. I don't know why it's... Come on. Just want to select you. It's grabbing the eraser tool for some reason. I do not know why. Oh, it's because we're live. That's why. All right, fine. Be that way. I'm going to lock this layer, create a new layer. I'm just going to show you something here. And while we're at it, let's color it in blue just so we can see it better. No, I said blue. Sometimes I'm having some color picker issues, but we'll get through that. All right, let's just say we have this ball, and I'm going to convert it to a symbol, right? And bear with me, my convert to symbol dialog is always on my other screen. And I'm going to just give it graphic behavior for now and just call it ball. Now what I want to do is nest this symbol, right? And I'm going to start up here. But before I actually animate it, I'm going to hit F8 again, which is convert to symbol. If you wanted to use the menu system, go to modify, convert to symbol, okay? And I'm going to convert a symbol to another symbol again. And just call it ball bounce. Now I'm going to double click it. And you can see we were in scene 1, the main stage, okay? Back here where we were. And if I double click the symbol, I get brought to edit mode for this symbol, okay? So we're inside of here, and now I want to actually make the ball bounce inside of here. So I have my ball symbol that I originally created. If we go to properties, we can see it's named ball. And I'm working, I think, at 24 frames per second. So I think this will take about a second or so to bounce up and down. Maybe, yeah, let's just go to 24. And I'm going to hit F6, which is insert a keyframe, okay? So now I have basically a 24 framed long animation that lasts a second, but there's no animation yet because I haven't done anything other than I've created, I want this to loop. It's going to drop down and come back up, right? So now I'm going to go to the middle frame here, and here I'm going to hold down shift and drag this down to the bottom. So now I've got sort of an animation, right? And in this keyframe, it's in the original position. In this keyframe, it actually goes down and then goes back up again. So I'm going to just quickly create a classic tween. Right, I highlighted an area across that spans this side in between these two keyframes, and in between these two keyframes, I said, all right, let's just create a classic tween, and it applies to both. The other way to do it, that I used to do this all the time, is just go here, right-click over any one of these frames, create classic tween, and then do it again. But then I realized, oh, I can just make a selection across them all, and just hit classic tween, it does it for me. So now we have an animation, right? Because no, we don't. I lied. I did something where I must have copied a frame inadvertently. Let's do that again. I've done this 1,000 times and I messed it up live, of course. So here we have a very robotic animation because tweening interpolates motion over time in a very uniform way, right? But we want to simulate gravity. So an easy way to do that, since we're starting up here, it's going to gradually pick up speed. So we want to ease in. So we select any one of these frames that has the classic tween, and I'm going to say ease in. So now if we just jog through frame by frame, you can see how it increases speed as it gets back down to that surface here on the ground. And we want to do the opposite here on the second half and just say ease out. So now that looks a little bit real. I'm not going to bother doing any squash and stretch because I don't want to waste time doing that, because I want to show you what I can do now. So I have this nested animation of a ball bouncing up and down. And here's the animation here. I just went back out to my main stage. If I click and select this symbol, this is the ball bounce symbol. If I double click it, we're back inside that motion tweened animation, right? GG Gluttony, do I know of any talented artist that streams drawings on iPad Pro? Oh, I bet you there's somebody here who's done it at least once, but I don't know offhand. I'm sure someone does, maybe one of the mods. Oh yeah, Molten Ink. He's already way ahead of me. Awesome. So back out on the scene, the main scene, my main timeline. I'm going to extend out the timeline a bit more. I can now position this ball outside the stage. Let's move that over a little bit. And so now all I've done was repositioned it, right? It's in a totally new position, just doing the same thing it's told to do. Graphic symbols will loop on the main timeline, as you see here. You can select the symbol and then open up properties, and you'll see for graphic symbols you have a looping option. And you can tell it to play once or stay on a single frame. You can do whatever you want. But I like this. For this, obviously we want it to loop. So now what I'm going to do is apply a motion tween to it. And I'm just going to right click over it and say create motion tween and position my playhead somewhere at the very end. And I'm going to hold down shift and drag this to the other side. Now when we play this back, we've simulated the same exact animation that we drew by hand earlier, right? And now if the client says, you know what, we don't like it, we don't like the color, and we think it just goes way too slow, I can just grab this leading edge here on the right side of my tween span, and let's knock that back a little bit, and now we'll see that it moves a lot faster. All right? So now we can, or if they say it just moves not slow enough, we can drag that out even further, and it's going to bounce a lot more times. So it's easy to edit a nested animation in this sense, and if we had to, because they said they hate the color, we could just click down in edit mode until we get to that original art. And let's just say they want green, we can change it to green. Go back out to the main stage, and that gets updated. So it takes seconds to edit something like that. So a lot of times with Animate and doing animation, it's basically the setup. It's all in the setup for a lot of things. But it doesn't have to be that way, but that's definitely one way of working, and a lot of Animate animators set up characters and rigging and stuff like that for you in this way. Because sometimes we'll actually work with other animators too, so we want to definitely share stuff like that. So I'm going to actually save this out.